Welcome to the first dev diary for Lorn Vale. I'm Roland, one of the developers from Gritty Games. In Lorn Vale, you are thrown into a ruthless, dying world. You'll start at the bottom of the food chain, and it will be up to you to figure out how to climb to the top. In this diary, we'll focus on the first step of your journey, the character creation. So, on the left side, we have a variety of ways to customize our character's appearance. Chris, our artist, has done a great job on the portraits. Already, just by looking at them, you can get the flavor of the setting. I think this guy looks sufficiently threatening for the character I have in mind. Oh, and I should mention that the appearance section, as well as everything else you're going to see in this diary, is heavily work in progress, both from a mechanical and a visual standpoint. Let's move on to the right-hand side, where we have our character's attributes and stats. Attributes describe our character's natural abilities. So first off is strength, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. It affects our character's inventory weight limit, allows them to pick up heavy objects in the world as well as throw them around, wear heavy armor, and control recoil for heavy ranged weapons, and also just in general affects our character's efficiency with a lot of types of melee weapons. Agility allows the character to move swiftly and silently. In a broad sense, it affects the speed with which we perform, and by we I mean the character will perform various actions in the world. Highly agile characters will drink potions or put on armor much quicker, which can be very useful in combat. Agility also affects our character's ability to efficiently use weapons that require a little more finesse, such as exotic throwable weapons. Grit. In short, the character's physical and mental fortitude determines how well the character handles injuries, diseases, and rough conditions in general. If we were to eat a piece of raw meat and get a stomach parasite, our grit would determine how well our body responds to it. Quite important for a cannibal playthrough. The final and perhaps the broadest attribute is mind. Our character's ability to navigate social situations, but also their perception, ability to craft items, as well as operate complex devices. Attributes are impactful. They also can't be altered during our journey, so we'll have to pick carefully. I won't go into what every skill does. I think it's more fun if you discover that on your own. But I will note that skill point quantity is limited, and no character can be proficient in everything. So, time to distribute our attributes. For this character, I'll max out strength and set a grit of, let's say, 4, to make sure we can survive away from civilization. We'll also set just enough agility to let us sneak in and out of towns, escape captivity, and maybe occasionally steal something. You can see that as we distribute attribute points, the numbers below the attributes adjust. These display the natural limit for all skills related to that attribute. For instance, our low mind attribute means that during our adventure, each time we will try to raise a mind-related skill above 2, it will cost us extra points. For strength, we can easily reach level 10 without any penalties. There's currently no cap for skill levels, so you can technically achieve an athletics of, say, 50, and pulverize your enemies into red mist with your bare hands. I'll invest some skill points into athletics, simple weapons, endurance, and stealth. This seems good. I think we can move on to the next page. Here at the top, we can select from a variety of starting scenarios. These can dramatically alter the trajectory of your adventure, and most of them aren't very pleasant. For instance, there's a scenario called Deathbound that drops you somewhere deep in the wilderness, naked. For this character, we'll go with the default starting scenario. Let's move on to traits. Traits are permanent fixtures, meaning that they will remain with your character for their entire life. We can separate traits into 2 broad categories, positive and negative. I won't go into too much detail now. but I'll say that some of them can get pretty wild and have a profound impact on your adventure. I think for this character, we'll go with the Bounty Hunter background trait. This trait costs 30 points, so in order to select another positive trait, we'll have to pick a negative one first. So let's pick Sleepwalker. We'll have a chance of walking around the world every time we go to sleep. For our second positive trait, let's take Flesh Eater, a trait that allows us to consume raw meat to restore a portion of our missing HP. Our reasonably high grit should allow us to deal with the side effects of consuming raw meat. Alright, starting traits look good. We'll also be able to acquire various other positive as well as negative traits during our adventure. Typically, we'd also be able to select a couple of starting items on the right side. However, in this scenario, we start as a captured slave and thus get nothing. We'll touch on items and equipment in a later diary. Our sleepwalking bounty hunter brute that consumes the raw flesh of his enemies is almost ready. We just need a name. We can type in a custom name or generate a randomized one. Names have power in Lorn Vale. Be careful who you share yours with. In this starting scenario, we wake up in a cell, but let's leave that for a later dev diary. We'll skip ahead right now. A few hours into the game, we got our hands on some valuable loot, but as we were heading to a town to sell it off, a gang of brigands ambushed us. You can see them chasing us right now. Unfortunately, they caught up to us, but now we have a choice. We can either fight, talk our way out, or surrender. I don't think our Mind 1, Speech Skill 0 character is eloquent enough to talk his way out of this, and we're definitely not surrendering, so that leaves us with only one option. And that's where we'll end it for now. Let us know your thoughts about this dev diary and also other things you'd like us to cover in the future, either on social media or the official Lorn Vale Discord. Thanks for tuning in.